Debate and its necessity in the school system, some actions of retribution go too far. Here are some of the most bizarre and intense ways students have been punished for acting out in school. Constance McMillan faced an uphill battle with her school district when she decided to sue her school for not allowing her to attend prom in a tuxedo with her girlfriend. McMillan's family stated that this was unconstitutional and that she had every right to attend the school event with whomever she wanted, so long as they fit the age requirements set by the school. While McMillan won the initial court case and was allowed to go to the prom, the school district got concerned parents in on a humiliating ploy. They created a fake prom at another location, claiming it was the real one, and invited McMillan, her girlfriend, and a handful of other students who all had disabilities. When McMillan arrived at the fake prom, she realized she had been duped and furiously took the case to court once again. Unsurprisingly, the court ruled in her favor, stating that the school district and local parents had gone too far in attempting to humiliate a high school girl, and she was given $35,000 in a fairly hefty settlement. Discrimination is sadly a common event in the school system and affected a handful of Hispanic students in 2009. After accidentally spilling water on the floor while trying to refill a nearby cooler, 7 Hispanic 5th graders were ordered to eat their lunch off the floor for 10 consecutive school days. They were not given trays or plates, but were forced to eat off napkins. On days where soup was the primary meal, they resorted to eating only strips of cheese. When parents found out, the school system claimed that the reason for the students eating off the floor had nothing to do with punishment, but was in fact the result of not having enough chairs in the cafeteria. The school sought to increase funding, but the courts saw through their ruse and slammed them with a discrimination lawsuit. The students then split a $500,000 settlement between the 7 of them at $70,000 apiece. Americans are not the only ones whose bizarre school punishments have captured the spotlight. One of the strangest acts recalled a young girl who published a photo of her legs to the internet, showing the damage she received when she was forced to kneel on frozen peas for hours at a time. Indentations scattered all around her mid-legs and knees in what looks to be an incredibly painful state. After posting the photo to social media, the young woman was forced to kneel on frozen peas for an even longer period of time, and the punishment has only gotten even more popular in Asia since, even though the food often varies between frozen peas and frozen rice. Hearing how effective the kneeling punishment was in Asia, 2 Florida grandparents decided to put it to the test by forcing their grandson to kneel for 9 hours for 10 days straight. While we're unsure if there are any repercussions to this strange and painful punishment, we can assume there are much better ways to use your food. While the next punishment isn't necessarily as mean-spirited as the rest, it did lead to some questionable responses. After 2 students were caught brawling in a hallway, they were given an ultimatum. They could both either be suspended, or they could sit down and hold hands for 15 minutes. Thinking that the second punishment was easier, the boys opted for the 15 minutes. What they didn't realize was that their peers would be allowed to jeer and mock them the entire time, taking photographs and videos and uploading them to social media. Homophobic slurs were called out, and the boys' masculinity was consistently called into question. Worse yet, they were bullied and made fun of for the rest of their time in school, often called gay in a negative light. The Mesa, Arizona school was vocal that they believed Principal Tim Richard had not practiced good judgment when he offered up the punishment, but many parents praised him for the decision. It's entirely possible that giving 4th graders too much say in crime and punishment can lead to some fairly disastrous results. When 4th grade teacher Summer Larson decided to give her students reading tests and assignments, she likely wasn't thinking through what their punishment would be if they failed to reach their goals. What she decided on was a choice she gave the students. They could either skip recess for a week, or they could let other students draw on their faces with permanent marker. In a decision that will likely shock no one, 6 of the children opted that they would rather have things drawn on their face. They returned home later in the day covered in markings, and in one case some fairly crude drawings. The teacher was suspended from her duties for a few days without pay. She eventually returned and apologized, though her punishment had already taken effect. The majority of the kids considered themselves failures for being unable to reach their reading goal, and their morale never recovered. Lamia Kamen was described as a fairly carefree 7-year-old before she was actively humiliated in front of her classmates. One day, while sliding the beads in her hair up and down, she was called to the front of the classroom by her teacher. The teacher quickly whipped out a pair of scissors and cut the braid of Kamen's hair from her head in front of the classroom. She claimed it was a punishment for Cameron distracting the class while she taught. Lamia returned to her seat fighting back tears while the class laughed at her and told her mother what had happened when she returned home. The teacher was fined $175 for cutting the first grader's hair without her permission, but no other action was taken against her. Houston, Texas. A preschool teacher found herself in hot water after news of her punishment rocked headlines across the country. After reading a story to students about monsters that live inside closets and devour those who break the rules, a young 4-year-old named Kellen Cheney was found acting out and yelling in class. In order to silence him, the teacher led Cheney to the nearby unused janitorial closet and told him that it was a monster closet where all the evil monsters lived. She locked him inside and turned off the light. When other students protested, she placed them inside the monster closet as well, terrifying them all. Cheney eventually threw up on the other children at some point throughout the day, meaning that all of them were stuck, crying in a dark closet for hours, standing in the boys' puke. When it was discovered what she had done, the teacher was swiftly fired from her position, as she was deemed mentally unfit to teach preschool children. Shockingly, some parents in the school district praised her means of hushing the children, claiming that schools have become too relaxed with how they deal with unruly students.